This story you and your viewers must hear.
Operation Spiderweb, trending completely.
When I first heard of it at 10 o'clock, I didn't sleep the whole night.
And do you think Putin is going to be using nukes now?
Putin has been waving the nuclear rattle. They have hit the heart of his nuclear enterprise. Trump have told him that you have no card. Is this the beginning of European resurgence? तुमसे पहले ये शख्स जो नदीम था उसे भी अपना खुदा होने का
यकीन था. From the prism of Sindoor.
What happened in Sindoor?
But do you think there's a case in point for a proper drone missile force in this country?
Pakistan, I'm telling you, will be seriously worried. कि जुल्म कोई कर रहा है, शर्माए हम जा रहे हैं. Will you be able to penetrate the Chinese air defense? You will never win the war on terror by chasing terrorists. And here we need to compliment the Prime Minister.
And we've exploited that space between the threshold, which is nuclear, and the conventional.
The Paki dilemma. Terror is no longer a low-cost option. Noor Khan will be hit.
Yes.
Sargodha will be hit.
Yes.
पिछली बार तो मसूद अजहर के brother-in-law को लगे थे. इस बार मसूद अजहर पे लगेगा.
So, killing a fly with a sledgehammer.
That unless the lions have their own historians,
yes,
the story of the hunt will always favor the hunter. We've had the most outstanding military victory since 71.
Yes, sir.
PK छोड़ दो, POK तो ऐसे ही लुढ़क के आ जाएगा.
Absolutely.
Sindoor tells us that our rise will be contested. अब Pakistan, China, Turkey is one part terror. Look at Bangladesh, Anurag. अगर हमको मारना है ड्रोन मिसाइल फोर्स, अगर आप ₹1 डिफेंस में डालेंगे, it will add ₹1 to your GDP. So we need action, we need ideation, we need a complementary narrative.
For Amrit Kal 2047, because India's rise is going to be, really been looked at.
Why are we calling it Amrit Kal? It is important because you have to grow rich before you grow old. Vishwa Bandhu Viksit Bharat
2047. Yeah. Hello and welcome to the podcast today. And today we have amongst us Lt Gen Raj Shukla, PVSM, YSM, SM, retired. Also the retired Army Commander of the Army Training Command, as well as member UPSC. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Anurag, and great to see you here in your new avatar.
Thank you very much, sir.
This
Thank you very
company
much.
of yours, Escape Velocity Media Works. So that's a new venture, I'm told.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
All the best to you.
All your good wishes, sir. And before we start, General Shukla is one of my very, very important mentors and guides and philosophers, and whatever he's taught me, that's what exactly is manifesting here as we speak today.
And you're one of the brightest chaps the Army had. Our loss is the media world's gain.
That's very kind of you, sir. Thank you very much. Right, we will speak today, sir, on Operation Spiderweb, trending completely all over the world today. And you know how the drones have created havoc. 117 drones, 41 aircraft, Tupolev 22, Tupolev 95, A-50s, what have you, strategic bombers, all the way 4,000 kilometers inside the Russian territory, in 3 different time zones. I mean, what do you make out of this, sir? Is there a case in point that we now need to look at this entire segment in a very, very different manner, sir?
I have been reciting this verse called dronery for the last 4-5 years and to deaf ears. But I have been observing it and I have been saying it for a while. Dronery has emerged as a new art and science. Sure. It is a new arm. And, it is neither artillery nor armor nor air power. It's got a salience of its own. And just let me tell you how it has worked. In Ukraine, 80% of Russian losses in men and equipment have come not from infantry, not from adversary armor, not from adversary artillery. I have to eat humble pie.
Yes.
Not from air power, but from drones.
Oh, yes.
Drones have been going through trenches. They have been going through turrets of tanks, and they were used as strategic air power.
Absolutely.
The Russians were doing it to take the Shahzad drones, Iranian drones,
yes,
were doing it to hit Kiev, power infrastructure. And the Ukrainians have to be admired. There is a story behind this. Look at a country without a navy. You first took drones and then took Starlinks, Elon Musk Starlinks,
yes,
to knock the Black Sea Fleet out of Sevastopol.
Absolutely, sir.
वो जो एक what is dronery telling air power, maritime power, all the बादशाहs of the fighting world. वो जो कपलेट है ना कि तुमसे पहले ये शख्स जो नदीम था उसे भी अपना खुदा होने का
यकीन था.
This is the hubris of the arms and air power of not acknowledging what the indicators were there. When Sevastopol was hit,
yes.
What did the Russians do? 80% of men and equipment. You did nothing. And finally, they have now come and challenged your nuclear theology, your doctrine, strategy. It's a psychological challenge. The whole thing of drone engineering, technological innovation, precision targeting. When I first heard of it at 10 o'clock yesterday, I didn't sleep the whole night.
Yes, absolutely.
It was so. It aroused so much curiosity in the military mind. कि साहब ये हुआ कैसा? There is also a psychological architecture. See, Putin has been waving the nuclear rattle.
Yes.
They have hit the heart of his nuclear enterprise. They have hit strategic aviation, nuclear bombers.
Yes.
They have hit the maritime leg of the nuclear triad. I think it's in a place called the Vagelia Air Base. The Vagelia Air Base.
Yes.
That has the long-range bombers. It has the refuelers, which is for deep strikes in NATO.
Yes, those Tupolev, the 22s and the 95s.
Absolutely. So he has punctured Putin's ability to carry out deep strikes into NATO. So I think it's part of a larger architecture and design. Perhaps Europe is behind it. And they have told Putin, not only is your nuclear triad at risk, your ability to hit deep. The base they have hit in the east, I think it is the Beraya Air Base. It is challenging Putin's ability to project power into Pacific.
Totally, completely, sir.
So, I mean, the technological wonderment is one thing. The strategic design is quite another. They have carefully chosen these targets to signal to Putin a day before Istanbul.
Yes.
I mean, you saw the face of the Russians when they arrived for the talks.
Yes, but do you think the geopolitical timing in this is right? And do you think Putin is going to be using nukes now? So that's a question which is, on everybody's mind now.
Absolutely. See, so two things before you come to this, two things I want to tell you. That, in Cold War I, it took Reagan and Gorbachev and their predecessors and successors to negotiate for 2 decades before the Russian nuclear force was shrunk by 30%. 30%. In the space of one night, you have shrunk his nuclear force by
34%.
34, somewhere I read 15.
34%.
If it is 34, it's even more dramatic.
Yes.
One night, 3 decades.
Yes.
This is what this strike has achieved. Now you see the question that you raise. You have hit the heart of his nuclear triad. Any doctrine you take, if you don't respond now, when will you respond?
Absolutely.
But the challenge is that will Putin respond with tactical nukes? Maybe. I think he will do that Oreshnik stuff. But he's going to hit Ukraine very badly.
Very badly. I think it's going to be...
And it may escalate. But see, the signaling is all around. I think Zelensky is also signaling to Trump. Trump told him, you have no cards. He has shown you he has more than one card.
Oh, yes, of course. It's become very murky, actually. It's become very complex.
So there is multiple signaling now.
Yes.
Is Ukraine emerging as an independent player now? Is this the beginning of European resurgence? If UK and Germany are behind all this? Because there was a statement by Schultz a little while back where he said we have removed the restrictions on ranges.
Yes. Yes.
So the Europe, it seemed to be in military doldrums, maybe back through Ukraine. And Zelensky certainly is now a force to reckon with.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Well said, sir. But then, if you look at all this, you see this entire thing, and then you look at it, from the prism of Sindoor, where we use our loitering munitions, the Harop and the Harpies, and we used our, swarm drones and all of that to carry out a lot of tasks like SCAD and whatever it may be, sir. But do you think there's a case in point for a proper drone missile force in this country now, sir?
I have no doubt in my mind.
And how do we go about it?
So my military clarity tells me 3 things, and it's open for debate. You see, what has happened in air power, BVR has stalemated.
Yes, sir.
It has stalemated. Now, whether it is 150 or 175 kilometers is immaterial. Aircraft are unable to penetrate the adversary's AD environment. Where is Russian air power? It used to be a formidable air force.
Used to be, sir.
Used to be.
Yes, used to be.
Now, our air enthusiasts have to acknowledge this humbling moment. And see, you may disagree with Elon Musk, but he makes a very powerful statement when he says that in a hypothetical dogfight between unmanned platforms and manned platforms,
yes,
the pilot is a liability. I mean, it may not sound good, but have we come to that moment?
This changes the entire complexion of air power understanding.
And it's no reflection on the Air Force.
Yes.
This is the arrival of technology.
It is as it is.
So
sir.
perhaps the three priority things that we need is stealth-enabled defensive air power. Just air power is not good enough.
Yes.
It has to be stealth-enabled.
Stealth-enabled.
Otherwise,
Absolutely.
you are not breaking the BVR stalemate.
Absolutely.
You will not penetrate. You may still penetrate the Paki defenses, which we have done. I mean, much to my surprise. And Pakistan, I'm telling you, will be seriously worried. What happened to their HQ-9 and all that? Absolutely. But the issue is, will you be able to penetrate the Chinese air defense in the WTC? That is the question. So I think stealth-enabled defensive air power. And it has to be complemented by a drone missile force. It is not an either-or option.
Yes.
And.
So
So the Air Force should be 50% unmanned, 50% manned.
Yes.
Or let me tell you, our army friends, you have 3 strike corps,
So,
mech armor based. In a terror situation, they are not the first instrument of response. Why not take 1 strike corps and convert it into an instrument of long-range precision strike with mech armor built into it as a second stage of response? What happened in Sindoor? So let me take you back to Parakram. That is very important to understand.
Yes.
I wonder where you are, Anurag. I was a lieutenant colonel in Parakram.
I was a major, sir. I was in the JNK, sir.
So you would have seen it. Look what happens. The heart of your parliament is hit. The citadel of democracy was hit.
Yes.
So we mobilized.
Yes.
And what were our instruments? Pivot core, strike core. Pivot core, strike core. But at the end of 24 months, we realized that it was a blunt instrument. Yes. Look how the Air Force argued. Air Force argued that if you use Air Commander Jasjit Singh, somebody I respect very much.
IDSAs.
But he said this. He says if you use air power, it will be escalatory. It might escalate into the nuclear domain. Respectfully, that was a pack of nonsense. Air power has proved to be battle winning. See, doctrine is so important.
Absolutely.
What happens then? Now, see, this story you and your viewers must hear. When you are mobilized, he provokes you a second time when he hits Kaluchak.
Yes.
Military station, massacre, 34 sleeping soldiers, women and children.
Yes.
And we thought we'll go to war the next week.
Yes.
The Prime Minister Vajpayee said, "Aar paar ki ladai," if you recall.
I think July 2021.
May 2020. 2002.
2002. May
2002.
That's correct.
I was in Ratnuchak. So we know this. It was close quarters. And we thought we'll go to war. And what happens? Now look at this. This is how Sindoor has to be understood. The Pakis, Hamid Gul and that Kidwai, nuclear rattle.
Yes, sir. Those famous 4 red lines.
Nuclear. Red lines and all that. Are they meant to be kept in museums?
Yes.
And now see what happens. Americans get scandalized. Washington tells the US embassy, thin out. American businesses move out.
Sir.
And then we are told that you are being irresponsible. You are threatening war. So stability is being affected. If I'm a Pakistani, I'll go laughing all the way to the bank. भाई मैं terror कर रहा हूँ और फिर मैं nuclear rattle wave कर रहा हूँ और क्या है उर्दू में कि जुल्म कोई कर रहा है शर्माए हम जा रहे हैं. And this worked as a design. Tell me, I want any nuclear theorist to answer this. What nuclear theology tells you that under nuclear cover you go on a terror rampage? Nuclear weapons are existential. They are to be used responsibly and not like this.
Yes.
And the gullible West bought this narrative.
It still buys it.
Still buys it.
Still buys it.
So they kept doing it. Now, I just want to make 3 points to you. See, I want to capture to you the mood of those times. There was so much frustration with all this, coupled with 2611, when once again we do precious little. Arun Shore said, not an eye for an eye, not a tooth for a tooth. For one eye, both the eyes. For a tooth, the whole jaw. He was capturing the mood of those times.
Yes.
That do something. Do something. Another politician I won't name, he mocked the Air Force. He said, आपकी जो Air Force है ना, this is all part of narrative. आपकी जो Air Force है, ये ग्वालियर से उड़ती है, जू जू करके बिना दुश्मन पे हमला किए चुपचाप अंबाला में लैंड कर जाते. He was making a telling point.
I remember that, sir.
And a very wise KPS Gill said,
yes,
you will never win the war on terror
yes,
by chasing terrorists or merely by chasing terrorists, which we've been doing for 3 decades.
yes. You need to escalate the
You
cost.
will win it by overwhelming the adversary. Now, Op Sindoor has converted the frustration, despair, even the wisdom of those times into a strategic reality. And here we need to compliment the Prime Minister and ourselves, because we've told them, listen, we know what the nuclear rattle is. We know what the red line is. Our generalship will keep it short of the red lines.
Yes, sir.
And this will not. We have called their nuclear bluff.
And we've exploited that space
Yeah,
between the
absolutely.
threshold, which is nuclear, and the conventional.
Yes. So schoolboy nuclear bluff. And now look at the Paki dilemma. Terror is no longer a low-cost option.
It is, absolutely.
Now you do this,
Escalated
Noor Khan
costs.
will be hit,
Yes.
Sargoda will be hit.
Yes.
Khana, at least this bit has been, equalized. Drummed in. And therefore, and also see the Indian military, from a blunt instrument which could not be used, is now an instrument of long-range precision.
Absolutely.
If we convert one of our strike codes into this,
Yes.
loiter, various kinds of drones, including the MQ-9 Reaper, look what will happen to us. He will stop doing it. We should so invest in space. We are absent in the LEO space. And once we do that, I'm making this point of action, narrative, complementing each other.
Okay, so
Once you have these capacities, and we should tell him quietly कि भाई पिछली बार तो मसूद अजहर के brother-in-law को लगे थे, इस बार मसूद अजहर पे लगेगा. And then you do it more, GOC 30 Corps or one of these Corps commanders will go now. Like Soleimani went.
yes.
Terror will stop. You just take it.
Yes.
Terror will stop. As long as they can get away with any kind of nonsense, they will keep doing this. हारेंगे और आसिम मुनीर को field marshal बना देंगे.
So, killing a fly with a sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer, and I'm talking of action, narrative, complementarity now.
Yes, yes.
They have to complement each other. Since you were talking of this, I was just going through my old notes. And there's an African proverb that unless the lions have their own historians,
Yes.
the story of the hunt will always favor
glorify
the hunter.
Yes, absolutely.
So this is the lesson, that you have to have action, but
Yes.
also a narrative. In fact, they have become so complementary now that if they are not in synchrony, if you do well militarily, and your narrative is not as effective, it tends to subtract from the quality of your military performance.
Absolutely. So that comes to, the next part of the whole thing, sir, which, is been baffling a lot of people. A lot of people are now saying, sir, that the narrative warfare, in whatever meaning and form or structure or dimension it may be, it is as important as kinetic warfare.
Absolutely.
So if we take the example of Op Sindoor, in your view, sir, did we lose the narrative at some stage in time, or we need to work more on this as to how do we capitalize this, narrative management system, as I've written, along with the battlefield management system?
So it's so important. Those were the days of so-called strategic restraint. I'm quoting Jaswant Singh now,
Yes.
whom we all respect.
Absolutely.
Jaswant Singh said the objective of Parakram was to contain terrorism without conflict, which means we never were to go to conflict. The
Meant
more
nothing.
telling thing he says, my most taxing challenge was to try and teach the service chiefs the advantage of restraint. I find it baffling. Service chiefs are supposed to fight. But strategic restraint became such a matter of highbrow intellect.
Yes.
कि सब बात करने लगे restraint. So we forgot the utility of force. We have now rediscovered the utility of force. That force can be used in a utilitarian manner. So I'm saying the narrative has changed from strategic restraint to offensive poise. Offensive poise. But if we are to be honest, our narrative, the other kind of narrative, Maxar imagery, showing what was hit in Bolari, in Skardu, Noor Khan, that was telling. The world has bought that bit. The Pakistanis have nothing but waffle there.
Yes.
We have shown that bit. But this other bit, I think, of addressing the Western audience, we were late. This our all-party delegation perhaps could have gone earlier. Should it have had military veterans in it? Because your forces worked so well. Should you have people who represent that instrument? It becomes more credible. We must see for the future. So in that sense, I think our information narrative tended to lag. When, and I'm making this point on your show, I think we've had the most outstanding military victory since 71.
Absolutely.
71.
I think it's unprecedented. So the way we have functioned and the way we have executed and prosecuted operations, I think one could not even think, in my own service, we always thought, that there is Sargodha, and you saw those,
Also, Anurag, 71, do we now miss the charisma and eloquence of Sam Manekshaw?
Yes. Oh, yes.
I think he did a lovely job on ground, but also complemented
with the narrative building. So he had that realized charisma. He had that charisma, sir.
So we need to work on both. And a professional strategic military system, which is a little beyond the military, we should perfect the latter.
But do you think, sir, there needs to be more steam in the space by incorporating the civil society as an instrument, by getting in think tanks, by getting in military veterans, by getting in people who are specialists into domain as part of the narrative building, sir?
Absolutely. See, now I think what we need to do is that we have to give a thought not only to narrative, but what is our strategic communication strategy be for Amrit Kal?
Amrit Kal. So
we can talk about it. And here, there are 2-3 things. In my view, you need multiple narratives. You need a narrative to signal to your military कि भाई, you have to now transit to a force of long-range precision. That is one narrative to your own military.
Absolutely.
You have to have a narrative for your adversaries' competitors, like China. Peaceful rise. You deceive the adversary. They knew
what an outstanding thing, sir.
Absolutely.
Peaceful rise. It means nothing actually.
And the West bought it.
Bought it completely.
So we have to have a very careful narrative for our adversaries, competitors. You have to have a different narrative for the domestic audience.
Yes.
भाई वो जो POK कर रहे हैं उनको भी तो satisfy करना है. Can we engage them to say, यार POK छोड़ दो, POK तो ऐसे ही लुढ़क के आ जाएगा, the way Pakistan is going. Do we need to invest in power projection across Malacca?
Yes.
The Chinese threat. Now see, as you go into the narrative, there are more questions. To answer these questions, you need domain specialists. So the MOD should have people like Raja Mohan, should have had some technology whiz kids, somebody from startups, who will help you in building and shaping this narrative. Narrative is not a one-liner.
Yes, of course.
It's not a one-liner. And let's look at it. What is the narrative for allies and partners? Will strategic autonomy work when push comes to shove? Will we get technologies from the US?
It's doubtful.
So these are the questions.
It's very doubtful.
And what is the narrative for the international community? So since you asked me this question, so many should look at one more thing of China, cognitive warfare. ये mothership की कहानी देखिए.
Yes, sir, I've seen that.
Now, mothership is what the Ukrainians are doing because they have really invested in dronery. This is a kind of a mothership. What have the Chinese done? They've taken one AI image of mothership and the whole world is buying it as if the mothership has already arrived.
And it's throwing out small drone
social media
and all of that. Yes, sir,
cognitive warfare.
Cognitive warfare.
J-36 उनका एक J-36 कहीं उड़ा और उन्होंने ऐसे बना दिया as if with a collaborative air system, it is already going to beat the Americans. Social media fluff, cognitive warfare. All these things, have to be seen. Your viewers must read a book called Spies and Lies by Alex Joske.
Okay, sir.
Which the Chinese, with their MSS, the Ministry of State Security and Communist Party, spent decades manipulating Western audiences.
The all-important MSS.
So it is beyond narrative, it is influence operations.
Oh, yes, yes.
Now, should we do that? Who fell prey to this? Let's not name them. An Australian Prime Minister, people from the US Congress,
Yes.
think tanks, FBI,
Yes.
travel agencies, writer associations. Now, this is where it becomes even more sophisticated. So I'm making this case immediately for the CDS to kindly consider the appointment of a DG Stratcom.
DG Stratcom it is.
A sharp 3-star who understands all this, who has a team which understands the press gaggle. I'll give you an example on this. We, Faujis, are always trained to be transparent, ramrod straight. We should be careful not to fall into media traps. So you always must not be transparent. You must learn when to dodge. It is important not to fall into a trap. It doesn't come naturally to us.
It doesn't, sir.
So
It really
DG
doesn't.
Stratcom and all have to be
Very smart.
So says Sandeep should be part of this team, a journalist who knows the press gaggle, who knows this badmashi.
Yes.
So the narrative also has to be structured to a winnability and not necessarily transparent.
Transparency.
And
Absolutely.
this is just pencil jottings from what you asked me.
Yes.
So any commonsensical approach to this narrative building is what we must do. But it tells you now how nuanced it is, how many metrics it has, how diverse it is, what kind of specialization it needs.
Absolutely.
So,
It's very complex.
Very
actually.
complex.
It's
So
very, very
we
complex.
really need to invest into this
Very
whole
complex.
narrative.
But then what do you think, sir, should be the blueprint for the narrative warfare insofar as we are concerned for Amrit Kal 2047? Because India's rise is going to be, really being looked at quite interestingly by the friends and the foes and all of the people who are on the sidelines. So what exactly do you think should be the part of the narrative warfare for India?
So we can only explore it jointly. This is just a podcast. So let's explore it and then wiser people can take it ahead. So I was just thinking, what should be the narrative of, let's say, Viksit Bharat? That's the dream?
Yeah, absolutely.
Vishwa Bandhu Viksit Bharat.
2047.
Yeah. So I think we will need to ideate this journey, ideation, then see what the roadmap is, and see how the ideation and roadmap must converge. In the convergence, we must discover the narrative. Now, let me just explain this to you. How we converge the ideation and roadmap must be communicated through a narrative.
Okay, so
That's what I'm saying. And the narrative, there will be one overarching narrative, but we will have to make adjustments and readjustments every week, every month, because it's not a fixity. Things will change, but we have to have a narrative in our mind. And let's take one good inspiration. This whole business about 100-year marathon.
yes.
What is it to the Chinese? You will not believe it. It is so unbelievable. In 1947 or so, Mao writes to the American president. He says, we want to become like you. Ultimately, we will be a democracy. ये तो अभी हमारे पास पैसे नहीं हैं. We are poor. So please give us money. Help us. This is called the 100-year marathon.
Yes, it's a lovely book also.
Lovely
sir.
book.
Lovely
And
book.
how was it? They said it will take us 100 years to beat them.
Yes.
So first deception, then hide and bide.
Yes.
And when they got powerful, then they become loud and proud. 100-year. I'm told there is no written document. It was grilled into Politburo members, military officers, bureaucrats for years on in the Tsinghua University, in their think tanks. So this 100-year marathon was the narrative. Now in a democracy, it's very difficult, but we have to see what a narrative is. And one part of the narrative that I can see is we have to first, in an overarching manner, see what was the narrative so far. Our narrative so far was simplistic. We said we will have a secure external environment and all that stuff, that one front diplomacy will take care, one front, too simplified. A benign internal environment, and we'll focus on the growth of our 143 crore citizenry. Makes sense, eminent sense, but that is not the reality. Sindhu tells us that our rise will be contested. This rise will be contested violently. So we have to plot our rise through multiple crisis, conflict, and confrontation. That's the first part of the narrative.
Absolutely.
And now if this is the narrative, and if our foreign policy has to be muscular because the environment is not benign, may I just point out to your viewers, see, I am saying our environment is even more challenging than Israel. West में Pakistan, Turkey, China, not China alone. This time the agreements were signed just 2 months back, so they could not fructify.
Yes.
Munir and Shehbaz have gone rushing to Istanbul. They'll come with drone stuff. That stealth thing has been fast-tracked. J-20s, August delivery. Pakistan, China, Turkey is one part, terror. Look at Bangladesh, Anurag, I've been following it. Now it's come out that Sheikh Hasina ke overthrow ke piche LET thi. Rakhine corridor is going to be weaponized, drugs and weapons. Will the next terror attack come from Bangladesh?
Yes, yes.
Here you have Bangladesh, Pakistan, China. WTC, just one line. There is a military differential of the power component is $450 billion annually. Let it sink in. And this 400 ship navy is not going to patrol the ships. Moment they break out, patrol the coasts of China. Moment they break out the first talent chain, IOR. Tell me, is our environment not grimmer than Israel?
Worse.
So muscular foreign policy now. You need an instrument of force that is nourished. High states of lethality and readiness, which means what? Next time a terror attack takes place at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and in 2-3 hours we know it is these guys, 6 o'clock the attack must go. It will go when you have a theatre commander, Western theatre commander, constantly looking at this.
Yes.
He should tell the Prime Minister, sir, 8 o'clock we'll go. And if we can invest in LEO and all, we are absent in the LEO space. I have been raising this time and again. Yes. Military capacities will not come from 4A, 4B. That's a mirage. That's good for exploration. If we have all these capacities, as I said, next time take out Masood Azhar quietly. Not Masood Azhar as a brother-in-law.
Wonderful.
So now, muscular foreign policy, instrument of force in a contested environment. These are metrics of that narrative. Now, each of these you have to go into depth, ask people to explore it, and now pass directions. अभी आप ये capacity करेंगे.
Yes.
अगर हमको मारना है drone missile force of various kinds, layered, छोटे drone,
बड़े
FPVs, one-way drone. FPVs can function in a GPS-denied environment.
Absolutely.
कल यही हुआ है.
Can't be even jammed.
Absolutely. तो ये जो चीजें हैं, from just a simple an analysis of this. Look at Amrit Kal. Why are we calling it Amrit Kal? It is important because you have to grow rich before you grow old.
So grow rich before you grow old.
तो हमेशा के लिए समय नहीं है. You have to put your act together.
Oh yes.
Hasten it fast. All these things come out of this narrative. The Prime Minister has been saying Anusandhan. What does he mean? R&D and technological innovation. Look at Ukraine. Technological innovation.
Absolutely.
Can innovation take place with this IFA system? No commentary on the IFA, but it cannot happen.
Yes.
अब देखो ये क्या होता है वहाँ पे यूक्रेन में. There is Friday को आपने ड्रोन फायर किया. You find it is missing the target. रॉकेट मोटर में प्रॉब्लम है. आपने उसको एडजस्ट किया, रीडिजाइन किया. 3D प्रिंटिंग से नए रॉकेट मोटर प्रिंट की और मंडे को उसको रीलॉन्च कर दिया. हमारे यहाँ क्या होगा? Lessons learned. फिर एक फाइल आएगी. फिर उस पर हम केस बनाएंगे. No, it's a serious point.
It is, sir.
Technological innovation will not happen this way. It is that Western Army commander in the field who has to say, ये करो, जो भी IFFA है, sign करो, आगे बढ़ो. And if you don't do it, the Chinese will do it. And they will be ahead of you.
I agree.
So all this, is all part of this this whole narrative thing. Let's say economic statecraft. You must someday get this guy, Aditya Kulavar or something. He and another economist, Indian economist, wrote in the Times of India. They said following things. They said it's a myth. ये जो guns versus butter
concept.
False debate. Economist saying it. He says desi technologies will give jobs. It will boost revenues. Economic argument. He says defense has a fiscal multiplier of 2, unlike others, which means अगर आप ₹1 डिफेंस में डालेंगे, it will add ₹1 to your GDP. What were I and you told? Defense is unproductive.
Yes,
lie.
You are feeding on the taxpayers'
so
money.
Defense will give you productivity. You must read it because I'm not saying it. And they have in turn quoted from an American Economic Review journal, peer-reviewed.
Yes.
It's a solid economic argument. Now, when we need to spend, should we spend in this manner? Revisit the metrics of your economic statecraft. Then the other thing, let's ask this question. is it better to invest in deterrence or let deterrence fail and then spend more on war fighting? So deterrence is costly, but wars are costlier. Now, this is the debates. It is not a narrative that I write one thing in one day. These issues have to be debated, come to conclusions.
Yes.
The debate is part of the narrative flowering,
building. Yes.
narrative
Absolutely.
building.
Absolutely.
But these are the questions. Can we achieve combat overmatch with Pakistan? Why not? $0.38 trillion, you are $4 trillion. The disparities in other fields do not reflect in the military field. He thumbs a nose at you because you have underinvested in defense for your size, for your heft. So combat overmatch with Pakistan and with China, fail-proof deterrence along the LAC. What I mean is, we have got enough troops. Give them technologies. They are startups. Just give them orders.
Yes.
You will have fail-proof deterrence. And I'm now positing this for the larger China challenge. Detente. What is detente? It's not just peace. Peace to buy time.
Absolutely.
Now, all these can be very sensibly put together. Cultural transformations. You will not get innovation unless you reform this whole business of IFAs. They can work for acquisition of legacy systems. They will not work for technological innovation.
Because the entire technology cycle itself goes for a
FADS,
toss.
we must request him to rewrite it. How long
Yes.
will it take? 20 days? We can help him out. So innovation will not have in a regulated environment. And then those three things I told you: stealth-enabled defensive air power, and that kind of stuff. See, I'll tell you how narrative is important. So important. Many years back, when I was a brigadier, I went to ISIS London. So that chap, my British host, told me that there's a Pakistani. He wants to meet you. So we said we'll meet. When we met, the Britisher is briefing me that in J&K, we are the aggressors. Our military,
What a narrative.
aggressive.
What an outstanding
and
narrative.
They are the aggrieved.
And he's buying it, sir.
And he's buying it.
All right.
So I said, bhai, do you know the reality there? Terror attack, 26/11, ye wo. And you know why? He has got 4 people. That Pakistani team has 4 people. We have none. In Western capitals that mattered, you have none. So who will carry the narrative? When we were doing a far better job in this whole counterinsurgency business. So what are our tools for that narrative? Think tanks, influencers, lobbyists.
Absolutely, sir.
I mean,
And lobbyist is not a bad word.
so
sir.
today you may not need institutions. Palki Sharma is a great influencer.
Yes,
So should we tap into her or people like her?
absolutely.
Look at how smartly Raisina, Samir Saran, has started influencing foreign policy debates. अब दिल्ली में हम बताते हैं कि साहब आप क्या करेंगे? Should we not have a parallel in the strategic military space? Why should Shangri-La be in Shangri-La, in Singapore? It should be here. Now,
Absolutely.
all these thoughts...
It should be Moria. It should be the Moria dialogue.
So I'm just throwing these issues. We know internally, General Rawat, with all his wisdom, had created a DGIW, Information Warfare. Where is he? The CDS needs a DG Stratcom, Strategic Communications. Perhaps one of our most thinking 3 stars, Admiral Air Force or that. And can we stop this now, Army, voice? We are a joint force now.
Joint force.
So there are so many thoughts, that one can throw in terms of these. So I'm saying thank you. I'm thanking you for asking me this question because it got me thinking to put all these points down. So we need action, we need ideation, we need a complementary narrative.
Absolutely, sir. Action, ideation, and complementary narrative. Stratcom, an absolute wonderful exposition of whatever you have mentioned, sir. I'm sure we'll go from here from strength to strength. Thank you, sir. It's been a great talk and a great discussion as always with you. Stratcom, the missile drone force, which is the most important thing insofar as today's warfare is concerned, precision-guided munitions, and most importantly, narrative warfare and building it towards Amrit Kal 2047. What a great learning for me, sir, and outstanding thoughts as usual, sir. I thank you so much for coming on the show, sir, and we wish to see you again very soon. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks a lot. I hope this conversation transforms into national security realities. That would be very gratifying.
From your mouth to God's ears, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.